Portugal, there's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know. Carl rings the bell and the members show to the GMP morning show. Featured guests will come and they will blow your mind. The audience will do so in kind. A little vanity mixed with some insanity on the morning show with GMP.
Good morning, Portugal, and I'd like to welcome you to another fantastic day.
Hey, Gumpers.
Hola, bon dia, alegria. Munson here with a Good Morning Portugal show, a live stream and podcast. And thank you so much for your birthday greetings. I had a lovely day yesterday. My birthday yesterday, 7th of July. Shared it with Ringo Starr, who is such a role model. I saw him, I think he's 84. And it was some footage of him bouncing about on the stage. Not even the best drummer in the Beatles. It never held him back. Ringo Starr, 84 yesterday as well. So thank you, everybody who sent me greetings. Had a lovely day. It started at about 1 o'clock in the morning on yesterday, Sunday morning, really early hours of Sunday morning, with a visit from the police. The GNR, two GNR officers, are nicely coordinated, one in the standard blue jersey and the other in the white, thinking that we were having the party that was causing all the noise in the neighborhood. No, we were suffering from it. We didn't mind the people having a party. They've got a pool at the back of our house, and something's wrong with one of their bits of equipment that has been whirring and whining for days. And I just asked them to do something about that if they could. They couldn't find the party. So if you're looking for a really good party location in San Martino de Porto, where not even the cops can find you, I'm not going to tell you where it is because it's right behind my house, unless I'm invited, of course. So Boa semana, welcome to a new week. It really is summer here now in Portugal. Sorry to see the national team go out of the tournament, but England are still in. The agony of watching Portugal and England playing football one night after another. What was that, Friday and Saturday? What a weekend it's been. So really sorry to see Portugal go out of the tournament, but we've still got England in there in the semi-finals. So that's going to be interesting, especially when they play the Dutch. The Netherlands this week. That's always a good clash. So looking forward to that this week and whatever else comes our way. So what have you got planned this week and what happened to you over the weekend? That sounds rather ominous, doesn't it? Lots of love to Veronica, who had a bit of an episode over the weekend. So lots of love to you in the Algarve, Veronica. I think she's doing okay now, but a bit of an emergency about which we send our best and love and best wishes and support. And you just let us know if there's anything we can do for you as a community. Talking of the community, the anchor man of Monday mornings is ready to join us. He's not been called that before. It's caused him to chuckle there in Ericeira. It's an old guy in Europe. Let's give him a nice big round of applause. Actually, no, that's not what we do. We play his music, of course. And then he brought him on without playing his music. My goodness, that would have been a little awkward. Here it is. We'll talk to him after this. Applause.
Bon dia.
2 days out the sun and I forget what I'm doing.
You have a right. You had a birthday, so all is forgiven.
Yes, it was.
But no more mistakes till next year.
All right, okay. I've had my allowance. Tudo bem, amigo?
Muito bem, obrigado.
Cool. Did you do anything? I'm not going to ask you if you had a great weekend, but did you do anything that you can remember over the last couple of days that was outstanding? How was the Portuguese defeat handled in your household and neighborhood?
Well, I watched it with Sidonio, and he's fun. He's a quiet intense fan.
Mm.
So he just sits quietly and something happens and he goes, you know, or yeah. And then they'll get a goal and it's a silent. Like, you don't need to be quiet on my account, you know, because I'm going, I'm going, hooah!
Yes,
That's me. So when they were finally beat, you kind of know it's coming after that first penalty is missed. It's like, okay, it's not looking good. And so when it actually happened, there's just this energy drop, and more with him than me, but I felt it too. It's the only football I watch is, Portuguese national football. So when they lose, then it's like, oh, my country lost. So anyway, it was fun, and I've enjoyed being included. I let Sidonio know that I was always up for a Portugal match, or if the U.S. was playing in an international competition, I'd like to see them too. But so he makes sure I know, and more and more I'm knowing when the games are anyway. So it's fun. It's fun to be able to share a sport competition with somebody.
I wonder, will we ever get to meet Luisa and Sidonio, do you think? Or will you feature them on your YouTube channel?
Well, yeah, they're actually getting and this is right along in line with what I did this weekend. I worked all weekend on this week's video.
Okay.
I'm learning a lot about how not to use a lot of talking and no video.
I wish
a lot of talking and no video should be a podcast, not a vlog, because you just have to come up with all these visuals to go with all this talk. It's like, talk less, James, talk less. It's like, I've got 30 seconds, 5 seconds, 15 seconds of time to fill, but like, what am I going to use for visuals? So just hours and hours of time. I never realized how much time went into editing just even 15 minutes of video.
If you do it well, I mean, I imagine there's an industry standard formula. For every hour you're filming
a minute of produced video for me.
Right. Yeah, and that's why I love live. I really do, because it's done and dusted. For better or for worse, it's done and dusted, and you can pick things out of it. But doing it, video editing properly, I don't have the right temperament for that, and you have to be very, very thoughtful, researched, planned, and have this overview and lots of patience.
Yeah, and truthfully, just lots of visual stuff. And if it's photos, you have to have probably 5 times as many photos as you need video, because you can't fill 15 seconds of time with one photo. Just like,
not even with a really long zoom.
Yeah, exactly. So, and the learning process. But I realized that my first 8-minute video took me 16 hours. So it was 2 hours per minute.
That probably is a new record of the ratio of input to output.
But it was all brand new. I'd never done it before. Now, it's like I was learning the technology. I was trying to figure it all out in addition to putting it all together. And it was another one of these voiceover visuals, and that's time consuming. So I'm learning more and more on the go, and every once in a while the software decides it wants to change how it behaves. So it's like, what's going on? And I have to figure it out. So I just quit out and then open again, and it just cooperates. It's stop it, you idiot.
You're a member over at GMP VIP. Did you ever look at Andy Klein's Better Smartphone Video course?
No, I don't have time for that. I'm too busy trying to produce.
Andy, of course, makes our Englishman and Irishman films. And when we're working with him, you can understand why he needs to be on point and disciplined with what he wants to shoot. Because we're saying to him, why don't you shoot that? Why don't you shoot that? Hey, that'll look good, wouldn't it? Hey, you could do that as well. And any director, producer, I think, and the person who's filming and editing will know, won't they? I'm not filming everything, because I'm going to be sat there on blooming Monday and Tuesday after the shoot, going through hours of footage just to find those good bits.
The
You have
best
to be,
bits, yes.
yeah, you've got to be disciplined with what you capture as well, I think. But
Yeah.
over on our Portugal Club, there's a 7-part course on how to make video from your phone as well, which you might want to revisit.
Well, maybe once I get caught up to with my stuff, I'll take the time to actually figure out what I'm doing.
Well, for the people who are subscribed over there, I'll put the link into the chat and you can have a look. Because I mean, that's the other thing, of course. It's possible for you to do this, even, isn't it? 30 years ago, 50 years, 100 years ago, you'd have to have been an absolute professional, wouldn't you, in the industry? Now everyone can do this, notwithstanding what we've just been talking about, which is, learning skills and applying yourself. But it's amazing that we've got all this technology available to us that we can make all these films now.
Yeah. And I mean, some people they don't care, and they just get on, they don't even bother to get dressed. They just get in front of the camera and start talking, and then that's their video.
Well, that's me. Yeah. I mean, I do put a shirt on.
But that's not the production value I'm going for. If I want to put something out, I want it to at least be entertaining and look. I don't expect to be, professional quality, but at least something that looks like I knew a little bit about what I was doing. So
that's coming across. Yeah. I love how your films, your movies start. And I'm an old guy in Portugal. And cue the music.
Yeah, so it's been fun, and I never imagined I've got to change things up, because I do not want to be a full-time video producer. That's not my goal. My goal is to be retired and travel and have a lot of fun and throw up videos once a week, and that's where this show comes in. I've got a lot of clips of my spot on Mondays on this show, which are all video, and it's already talking, so it's just a matter of plugging it in. I just didn't want to set it up, the first several, as being, this is all it's going to be. Yeah. Like, oh, it's going to be James talking on Good Morning Portugal. That's what an old guy in Europe is. I don't want people getting the sense that that's what it is. So I need to change it up a bit from time to time.
Yes.
So they can see, oh, so Friday, this coming Friday, is going to be my first day in Portugal. That's what I featured. And that's a lot of talking, a lot of visuals, a lot of stock photos, because I didn't take pictures when I was arriving. Okay, let's get some stock photos of the airport, that kind of thing. But I think it'll come across nicely, and it's a lot. I think so far I've got 15 or 16 minutes, so it's another 15 or 16 hours I put in. But I've increased my speed. I'm twice as efficient.
Yeah. That learning curve is going to flatten a little bit, isn't it?
Yeah. So
okay, well, glad to hear it. Episode 4 has been published over on An Old Guy in Europe. You can check that out. Not now. We're doing our show live together now.
That's right. You can watch this spot on An Old Guy in Europe sometime in the future.
Yeah, exactly. And he'll be even older then by the time you watch it. And we've got Stephen White joining us. Excuse me. Yeah, I did have a very busy weekend. Left my voice somewhere on Sunday night. Stephen White joining us from Property Miners. He's got a webinar coming up tomorrow evening, which I'm on, actually. He's very kindly invited me to join the folks who are going along to that online this time. He was in Lisbon last time at a weekend event, so we'll chat to him about that. It's sold out, I think. He might have a reserve list. He'll tell us more about that anyway at 9:30. Between now and then, James. Oh, before we move on from video, greetings from a wonderful Algarve. Yes, making video is simply hard work. Foto mágico makes life a lot easier. But like all good things, you have to pay. Look at that. A little bit of mindful wisdom there from a Yorkshireman. All the best things in life, lads, you got to pay. Some way, or if not with money, then maybe with your attention and your mindful appreciation. I guess that's a true as well, isn't it? If not money, we've got to pay some way. In the trade of life as we have it.
Time and energy on this one.
Time and energy, right? Okay. And Squire and the Shires and Owen having a nice chat. Morning to you, Owen. Let's make sure we've said hello to everybody this morning. T-Duck is with us. Coach Turner. We'll check out that God Squad tip of the day, as well as your mindful migration submissions into the chat at 8. Oh, yeah, you're running behind schedule this morning, weren't you? Milene's joining us. Good morning, Milene, to you. She's got a morning thought as well. Let's do that one now. If you think adventure is dangerous, try routine. It's lethal. Well, yeah, sympathise with that whenever I've been stuck in a corporate situation. Antonio F is here, of course. Morning to you, and thank you for your birthday greetings. Tony, Big Tony, and Jovial James, greetings to you from Pete, who's in this morning as well. And I think it's going to be a hot one for Pete, isn't it, in central Portugal? The weekend in Lisbon was very nice. 20 degrees is perfect, absolutely spot on for Lisbon, that, isn't it, in the 20s. Antonio also adding rain is expected in the north and central Portugal for this week. I heard that. That's outrageous. Anyway, it will stop me moaning about how hot it's becoming. Deagle, bon dia, Carl and Gumpus from a dry mile Belfast, 10 degrees, mixed bag. He's got a mixed bag. Weather last fortnight, showers, odd sunny spot, should have hit 17. Very poor summer so far, with only 3 days over 21 in Belfast. How's the new government treating you? Have you got one yet in your particular part of the British of the United Kingdom there, Deagle? I think Skier, I think, as he's known, is popping over to see you soon. And on this auspicious day in history, remember this? We used to have this as a feature with the prof, didn't we? 1497, although it was my birthday yesterday, I wasn't around that long ago. Vasco da Gama departed from Lisbon with a 4-ship fleet on his way to discover the sea route to India. He reached India on May the 20th in 1498. And how things have changed, James. We went for a walk last night. It started with a police visit and ended with a beautiful sunset over San Martino de Porto. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful there? I've never walked up the hill to the lighthouse. And when we got there, you can see how big the lighthouse is. I thought it was going to be a lot bigger than that. I'm not complaining. I'm just surprised. I thought it was going to be a massive, like a lighthouse, your classic lighthouse.
You don't need a huge building to have a bright light, apparently.
Well, that's it, exactly. Yes. And there's 2 bright lights there, the lighthouse on the left and the sunshine on the left, setting over San Martino de Porto last night. And then we got an Indian takeaway. So it's a wonderful coincidence.
And I have to say, 1492 is when Columbus arrived in India, but it was actually the coast of the West Indies, actually. He thought he had gone all across the ocean to India. That's why the natives of our country are called Indians. He thought he was in India or near India. He was a long way off. He had no idea where he was.
Meanwhile, in Europe, 5 years later, we did it properly.
Yes, you went around Africa and went that way.
That's right. And now, these days, in 2024, we only have to go to the end of the quay to visit an Indian restaurant. Vasco da Gama had to sail all that way with 4 ships.
That's right. Just to get some of those seasonings.
Yes, I'm going to tell the children how lucky they are when I finish this morning. But yes, how things have changed. So thank you.
The spice of life.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. And morning, Frank. Mr. Nibley is here with belated birthday.
Bon dia, Frank.
Appreciate it. Squire, Owen, also in, Paul, of course, and Milene with those lovely words. And thank you. Feliz Aniversario, Carl. Wishing you a day. I'll take it. I'll have another day of it today. Thank you very much. And
yes, another day full of happiness. Maybe every day. We could do that.
Well, this is. I wondered if you had any advice for the football fans, because as I was struggling at a certain point watching the Portugal game. I think it was. In fact, I didn't bother to go out to watch the England game. I thought to myself, I don't want to sit in a bar being stressed watching blimmin' football, rubbish, or not rubbish football, but football where I didn't get the result I wanted. And it occurred to me what a savage pursuit it is. Why do people put themselves through that, James? It is such a silly choice, isn't it?
There's the joy of winning and the agony of defeat,
Right.
That's
the maths.
That's why people are there.
But the maths are extreme, aren't they? The chances of winning. And when your team isn't the best in the world and the odds are stacked against or whatever, and you've gone through several matches already and you're not feeling like this, you're still hoping, but in your heart, it is agony. And people put themselves through this, don't they? Of all the life investments you could make, watching football, really, in terms of well-being and happiness, is not a very good one, is it, if we think about it?
No, well, it's the relationship between the up and the down. And that's where the thrill exists, is in the shift and in the change. Sometimes it's like, but then, woo, we got that shot that one time, which is why people stay fans for decades, because they won a world championship once. We can do that again. It's the same thing.
1966 for England.
Yes,
there's
or
no training on that.
gambling. People gamble with a 99% chance of losing every time, but there is that one time we might win something, and that's
Well,
what keeps them coming back. It's another form of addiction in a way. I mean, if it doesn't rule your life and interfere with being able to live day to day, then it's not really an addiction, but it has that same quality of
yeah, right.
enticement and
Yeah.
satisfaction when it works, and being really down when it's not working. So
Yes. Well, it was a moment when I thought, why do people put themselves through this? And I'm not that much of a fan, I have to say. I'm pretty fair weather, and I like a big tournament, but I don't go through that agony every weekend. I never have done. And I was thinking, that this is a really weird way for humans to apply themselves and their energy and their passion. But I get what you mean. It's from the extremes comes the relief, I suppose. It's relief as much as anything else. I mean, there is a section.
There's joy. We access a level of happiness that we don't get just sort of walking around in our life generally.
Yeah.
It's a peak experience when your team
Yes.
wins. So
Yes.
I think that's what people are looking for, that peak experience.
Yes. Well, I think, from a personal point of view, I think I would rather go for a flatter line of equanimity and joy than seeking out those moments.
Yeah, that's more my style.
Yeah, it really occurred to me over the weekend, just watching that and going through it, and being this guy. I mean,
and that you were asking, how do you get over a loss? Right there, it's the I mean that literally, but the fans. Fans, I mean, this is the country I live in. These people show up and they cheer right to the last minute. Whoa, and they celebrate and they yell I mean, how many hundreds of people or thousands of Portuguese were in Germany watching the game live with their colors and their flags and all of that. And then you see cities throughout the entire country with hundreds of people sitting in front of televisions in a park or whatever it is, watching the game. Yes. Even when their team loses, there's this tremendous bonding in the experience. And our guys didn't do it, but man, do we love our team? Do we love our country? And there's a feeling in there that I think that is what helps to soften the blow of the loss.
Gotta be right.
It's the community and the spirit and the feeling of belonging in that comes even in the loss, the sadness of the loss. We share the sadness. So that's how you get over it.
Well, yeah, and I don't know a lot about that, because that was another thing. I was looking at kids, on one level, taking your child to Germany to see the team get beaten. It's like a level of, I don't know, cruelty almost, isn't it? But it is a savage blow to the national pride and personal happiness that is, like you say, is shared, isn't it, across a culture and a community, which I guess there is something wonderful about that, going through the ups and downs together in a community, which is not a very passionate football fan, I wouldn't know a lot about, and I would just have to accept that is what's possible for people.
Yeah. Well, I have to share with you, I saw a short video, probably on Facebook, two women who were talking about football versus soccer, the American woman and a British woman. And the British woman was citing the history of the word soccer, and the bottom line is that soccer was a British term that was introduced to the folks over in the States. It was an abbreviation of some popular term.
Association.
Yeah, the soccer and the whatever, and then so it just kind of got sort of commonly, casually referred to as soccer.
Yep.
And then, so the Americans said, oh, okay, soccer. Well, we've got football over here. So that helped, that's great. We got football and soccer. And then the Brits just stopped using soccer and they went to football. It's like, no.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like, wait a minute. We get so much grief for calling it soccer, but from the Brits, it's properly, it's football. It's not soccer. It's like, but you're the ones who said it.
That doesn't matter. That does not matter.
It's like, gotcha.
Yeah, but football fans always got something to moan about, and that'll be one of the things. Bob thinks, Bon dia todos, Carl. An old saying is that misery loves company. Is that why people gather even during losses? Well, it could be, couldn't it? And it's true. I guess a problem shared is a problem halved. That's part of it as well, isn't it? And to you specifically, I think there were matches in Germany with over 10,000 Portuguese fans, most of them immigrants in Germany and nearby countries, but also many traveling from Portugal, which is an incredible commitment there. And as I was saying, I think there are far better and easier ways to get joy in life than following football. But I can't comment fully on that because I don't know what it's like to completely lose myself in a crowd of football fans traveling to the game, being in the pub. It's not something I've ever done. I get a sense of it, but it's not something I've ever done that would make what I see as like, well, why would you do that? All worthwhile in the end. And I guess, people might look at parts of my life and think exactly the same thing. And we're all different, and we derive our pleasure and happiness.
There it is. We're all different.
Yes.
There's no better or worse. It's just the way that works for us.
Just trying to understand that when I thought, I'm watching the game, this is such an awful waste of my time. And so painful. What the hell am I doing? I thought to myself at one moment. And then didn't even go out to watch the England game. But, actually, by the time they were at the penalty shootout, even Mrs. M came into the garage where I had my laptop set up. I was pottering about, which I love to do, and had the game on. And then suddenly, of course, the focus is on the penalty shootout because that is a very difficult area for the England team. Mrs. M is stood with me. I said, come and watch this. She's crying watching it. And just, how we're looking in on a portal into that experience. And you can feel it. You can feel the energy of that situation. And, it's like, in a typical sort of motherly and womanly way, it's like, I hope no one has to lose here. And like someone is definitely about to lose with a penalty shootout. It doesn't get harsher. Yep. It doesn't get harsher and harder than this. And that everyone's feeling that at that moment. So what a weekend. Onward though, England, who knows, might be facing Spain or France in the final. That will be incredible. We've got Stephen joining us in just a moment, James. I'm aware that I've robbed you of any space here to speak of other things other than the agony of football.
No robbing. Shared conversation. I don't know how much time it would take, but I think it was a couple of weeks ago, recently on Good Morning Portugal. No, it was your question, the article you wrote on, or the question you asked. I don't remember exactly how it was framed, but it was about what do you love about America?
Oh yeah.
And I spent time with that. I mean, as I do, it's like, okay, well, there's a lot of reasons that I don't want to say don't love America. I'm not. It's kind of like you love somebody, but there's a lot of characteristics about them that you just really don't like very much. That feel like a brother or sister or something where you just love them, but man, they're a pain in the ass. That kind of a thing. Yes. And so I've been so happy being here because of the culture and the place and the experience of it just resonates with me in a way that I had never experienced in my life before. That it was easy to not think about what I appreciate or what I love about the United States. And so thank you for that. Giving me, kind of creating the space for me to give some thought to it. And there were aspects of it that the after effect was a certain sadness because there were things that I loved about it that had more or less gone away. There were things that I hadn't realized had gone away. I just assumed were still there, but looking at it from a distance, like, oh, it's not like that anymore. The things that really pulled me. But there were qualities that I addressed. I answered in the comments about that. I don't even remember specifically what they were, but it was the experience of it. And if anyone hasn't done that, especially those who were, I don't want to say the only reason you came is because you're dissatisfied, but something moved us to change, to leave the place where we were. Something said, maybe there's something better for me over there, which implies that there are things that are not as good for you where you are. So in that, I think it's worth looking at. It might be worth trying to explore even for those who are considering the move, especially during really emotional times like election years, and especially what's going on in a few of the countries, in my case, in the United States. I'm seeing talk and people saying, well, if Trump gets elected, we're leaving. It's like, where are you going? I don't know. We just got to get out of here. Like, there's that energy of it, and that was a piece of it for me after the re-election campaign after his first term, but it wasn't the only reason. So worth looking at. It's a great question to look at, because when you're looking to leave, you're not looking at what you appreciate, and you might miss what you appreciate when you leave it. So
true, and I really meant it earnestly, because coming from the United Kingdom, it's the same sort of vibe. A lot of expats, foreigners, immigrants. There is that sort of backstory, isn't it? And what you're leaving behind, you're glad to be gone, and all that sort of thing. And one of the big papers in the UK, I found out, wrote like the best places to go to after the election. People think like that, don't they? It's like, oh, we're done here. And it's really awful in so many ways to have such summary judgments about things, isn't it? Countries, people, whatever. That's the nature of judgment, of course. And it's like football again, isn't it? It's like you win or you lose. And life's not like that, or preferably, hopefully, life isn't just like that, a series of like polar judgments, although it does feel more and more like that. And that's what was genuinely being asked in this question. I grew up with an absolute fondness and love for America, a certain part of American culture, and that was music. Like black music from America was just such a lifeline and inspiration to me from being a teenager. And that's my American education, if you like, a culture I didn't know anything about apart from its music, which made me love the culture en masse, not just because of the music. So, and it's really, when I see Brits doing this, I see Americans doing this, it's no good just beating up on your old place, because there are great things about it as well. And it's good to have that balance. So I was just asking this question that you were talking about. What do you love about the culture? What do you cherish within the idea of the American dream? That has been a very powerful motif for people. Not just Americans. It's a worldwide export, that, isn't it? And what are you proud of that your culture has given you and to the world? And there are things, and we know that can be polarized and political and quite difficult and dark at times. There's no question about that. I'm not trying to sort of sanitize anything, but there are things that get missed when everyone's just piling in and being critical. So there you go. We're holding Steve up. We can come back to this, though. Steve might even have a comment on that. He's talking about relocation as well as an investment now. So let's give him a nice big round of applause. And thanks, James, for mentioning that. We'll come back to it. Steve White, everybody. Good morning to you, Steve. How are you?
Morning. Can you guys hear me okay?
Loud and clear. Loud and clear. Yeah.
Perfect. Morning, James. Morning, Carl.
Morning to you. Where do you find yourself this morning? You to and fro, don't you, between UK and Portugal? Where are you? I think you're in the UK.
Yes, I'm in the UK. Hence the jumper on layers. Right now. It's I got a few layers on because it's a little bit chillier out here.
Yes. And how's everything going? Because the last time we spoke to you, and yes, by the way, Gary, he's on a Douro cruise. I'm sure the gentleman here will allow a quick intermission of Douro cruising. So I have sent you that link. It'd be lovely to see that from the show this morning. So thank you for that. And there's some footage from João Ernesto from the horse fair in Pontelima. So we'll squeeze that in before the end of the show and everything else we've got. But Steve, for the time being, last time we spoke to you, I think you had a very successful event, like face to face, not one-on-one, but you had a group of people in Lisbon, which was very successful, and another one online tomorrow evening. Is that right?
Yeah, I had an event. Sorry, I got some construction going on at the place here.
Of course you have. You've always got construction going
on. We had an event in Lisbon where we try and host networking events that are face to face every 2 months in Portugal. So they're always in different locations. They're always different circumstances. So, for example, this one was more about people that are looking to invest in short-term rentals or Airbnbs, and also looking at purchasing large buildings as well too. We had, I think, about 14 people show up to this event. It wasn't the biggest event that we've had, but it was a really successful event, in my opinion, just because we had people from all different types of backgrounds who were able to provide insights of what was going on their perspective of Portugal.
Very good. Okay. And obviously it was nice to be in Lisbon, I suspect. What a great setting.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was it was right by the water. So After we went for some Brazilian barbecue and then went over to the beach and had a couple beers. We were relaxing. I'll say that.
Brazilian barbecue. Sorry, we will come back to these events because I love it what you're doing in bringing people's attention to Portugal. What distinguishes a Brazilian barbecue from a Portuguese one, for example, or an American one for that matter, or a South African or Australian one?
A Brazilian barbecue is, I mean, that's what I call it. I'm not too sure if that's the actual name for it, but I've been told it's like a Brazilian style barbecue where they bring around different types of or cuts of beef or pork or whatever you're going for that day, and they bring it on rotation. So it's over a fire grill, and then they bring over and cut slices off it, and you take those slices, and then there's a small buffet with like fruits, vegetables, rice, beans. It's a mixture of a lot of things, and it kind of just reminds me of where my family is originally from in the Caribbean. That's how we eat food. You barbecue it, and then there's kind of like a potluck of food, and you just kind of share that.
I wish I hadn't asked now because I'm hungry. I always always find myself in that cul-de-sac of asking questions about food and then feeling really hungry afterwards. Okay, tomorrow evening then. No barbecue because you have to bring your own. In fact, if you do want a barbecue, this is.
Yeah.
I see the angle on this has changed a little bit. Or has it? I mean, maybe it's always been this way, but you're just making it more obvious to people now. Relocation and investment. You're all about the investment, of course, and finding affordable luxury in Portugal. Are you doing more to help people relocate or overcome their fears of being here? Why the emphasis on relocation now?
I'm starting to build my team. So now we've got a solid team of about 7 people that I've brought together where we all have different businesses, but we were trying to figure out how we can all bring ourselves together. And right now we're just trying to bring a turnkey service because I find there's a lot of places that do some things, but not everything. And what I'm trying to do at my company or within my business is provide all of the services that you need to either invest, purchase property, or relocate to Portugal.
Right. Okay, that's good. All right. So the emphasis on relocation is to let people know that as soon as they're interested in moving to Portugal, you can help them. They don't just have to have money to invest in property, for example.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. Before I was focusing mainly on the investment side of things.
Yes.
Just because we did have a lot of people that were after the golden visa through property investment or the NHR kind of disappeared. It's been a little bit. People have been unaware of what actually is available in Portugal, and I mean, most people don't even realize that they can purchase property in Portugal without actually being a resident.
It's very easy, isn't it? I mean, you don't even need to be a
Yeah.
resident here like you do in some countries.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Good to
Yeah,
know.
no, it's we're getting lots of people. I mean, and this kind of touches on the subject of what do you miss about your country.
Yes.
It really is. Honestly, in my opinion, I don't really miss too much about Canada apart from, I would say maybe maple syrup and A&W, Burger King. I mean, they have Burger King, but it tastes a little bit different out here um, compared to what we're used to back home. But
There's
apart
a
from that, I don't miss too much.
Well, I mean, there is is it a Shakespearean phrase, damned by faint praise. If all you miss is maple syrup and Burger King, I guess you're not missing it too much.
No,
Okay.
it's. I mean, Portugal kind of offers. I grew up in Vancouver, British Columbia, so on the west coast.
Yeah.
And we have the Rocky Mountains and stuff. We get snow. I grew up in a place where, in high school, we used to skip school and go skiing in the morning or go snowboarding in the morning, and then by the time we
Wow.
got back around 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, it'd be warm enough that you could go to the beach. So maybe that's something that I miss. But
Yeah.
apart from that, there's not really everything that I was able to do in Canada, I'm able to accomplish in Portugal, or it's starting to arrive into Portugal, or um, like even just the food. I didn't realize I couldn't figure out when I first moved out to the UK/Portugal. I was like, why is the food tastes kind of bland in some places, or especially in the UK, I couldn't figure out why the food tasted so bland, and it was honestly because of I'm used to the amount of chemicals that are in the food back home, and
Yes.
it wasn't in that in the UK or Portugal. And when I come to Portugal, things are just seasoned with salt, garlic, and maybe a little bit of pepper here and there, and you know, it's some of the best stuff I've ever tasted. Just simple, you know. I can't even remember the name now. Like the Portuguese steak with the egg on top,
Oh yeah,
with some
yes.
fries on the side.
Yeah.
What
yeah.
honestly, such a simple meal, but I literally eat it 5 times a week. It's
Yes. Stop it, because I'm with you on that. And yes, you've got the rice and the chips and the salad,
Yeah.
and then the cut of meat with a fried egg, the obligatory fried egg on top. It is a great way to. I've got to say, the Indian takeaway I had last night was like being back in the UK. And it was, you know, it was a blessing on the British palate, that's for sure, when the Chinese and Indian restaurants opened up in Britain. And it was really salty and flavorsome. You know, it's like you're talking about, I think, you know, with this Indian meal we had, there was a lot of spice and salt and flavoring. And they're adding value, aren't they? They're bang for buck. And I guess that's what you're talking about generally about the American or North American food. It's there all the time in every kind of food to add that value. So when you go somewhere where things are a bit simpler, you really notice the difference. Bitok, of course, is what you're talking about.
Yes. There you go. Yeah.
And you've got
a couple of things along this line. One is, one of the things I say about being in the United States is you can get whatever you want whenever you want it, and that's something that's not true everywhere, that you don't realize until you leave. And good news, Steve, I got 100% pure maple syrup at Intermarché. So
really?
Yeah, look at I found it in the sweet sauces area, you know, like chocolate and caramel syrup place, but they're right there. I went, oh, maple syrup from Canada. But yeah, I'm not a connoisseur of it, but it's like, oh, nice. I'll get a little bottle of that. So if I want some French toast or something, I can add it to it.
Yeah. To be honest, I just find it so much easier to maintain. Not that I live a crazy lifestyle or anything, but I find it so much easier to maintain my lifestyle and what I want to do and what I want to accomplish being in Portugal. And I'm soon to make that move to Portugal. I got a few things to take care of in the UK first. And even that perspective of, you know, living in Canada and living in the UK, I still prefer to choose Portugal just because of not only the food, but the accessibility to the rest of Europe and also the people. I've met some of the most friendly and welcoming people in Portugal, and that's coming from a Canadian.
Yeah, yes, because Canadians are friendly. Before we go on to the River Douro, we've got a chance to. Well, actually, you can say it properly as well, James. Douro.
Well done. I did notice it was misspelled, and you pronounced the misspelling correctly.
Thank you.
It was spelled D-U-R-O, which would be Douro, but that means heavy, not.
Oh, does it? Okay, nothing
I
heavy.
believe so. Yeah.
Nothing heavy about what we're going to see.
Something different. I'm remembering heavy for some reason. I could be wrong on that.
All right. Well, Deagle is wondering, before we go and see some sun-drenched Brummies in the Douro in just a minute. Well, how is a Canadian cold in the UK? Is that acclimatization?
I think it's more so like my background. I worked in -40, -50 in the oil and gas. I used to work out in the middle of nowhere, but I find the cold in the UK gets to your bones compared to Canada. It's more of a dry cold in Canada than it is in the UK.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Okay, let's go to the Douro now, and a river cruise with the great Garvo, as you'll have seen in the Portuguese press recently. Garvo Grande is here. How's it going there, Garvo?
We're doing good. We've just come through the first dam on the river. It's quite a big one. I'll try and swing round so you can see it behind me.
It does look like Birmingham at that particular. You see, I'm thinking going on a Douro River cruise, it's going to be vineyards. It looks like Birmingham there, for a scene from the Peaky Blinders.
Come on, it's coming. It's coming. It's pretty impressive, that one, actually. That's the smallest one. That's the smallest down, about 14 meters.
Yeah.
And the next one, I think, is 34. It's 3. Yeah, so, but yeah, we're heading into the country now as we swing round. See.
I didn't know that there were dams and locks on a Douro River cruise. That's quite amazing. So what happens is you're going out of Porto and then you're going to head into more open country then, presumably, at some point.
We're kind of on the outskirts of Porto.
Yeah.
But I'm here with you know who.
Yes. Morning.
Morning.
Why is your name Oslov on the screen there?
Probably my spelling. It's quite hasty. Oz. Should be Oz.
Oz from Oz is with us. So how's it all going? How's Garvo treating you?
Oh, it's been wonderful. It's been fantastic. Such an experience. First time in Portugal.
Yeah.
And this cruise is amazing. It's just a perfect day for you. Yeah, we had one time. Loving it.
Okay, wonderful. The sound isn't brilliant. Can we leave you on screen, Garvo, so that we can see where you're going? Because the sound is really kind of weird. I imagine it's quite noisy on the boat.
We have a lot of some music and stuff, so I understand that. Yes.
All right. So
yeah, but we'll show you what's happening.
All right. Okay. Well, thank you for joining us. Fantastic to see you both. Lots of love to you. Have a great day there. And we'll just mute you up and then just enjoy the scene. So don't forget, you're still live on the Good Morning Portugal show for at least for 15 minutes, or leave the screen. I'll leave it to you to leave the screen if you start mooning at passers-by and you don't want that to be broadcast on the show. Okay, brilliant. Garvo, look, people pleased to see you as well. Isn't that fantastic? How wonderful. Yep. And morning greetings from Pete as well. I've been to Siberia and had my eyelids freeze to my eyeballs, but never been as cold as in the Black Country Museum in Birmingham. So that's the sort of cold that Steve's talking about there. And Michael Barton, thank you very much. Pictures coming in as well of Costco in Spain, where I believe they might have maple syrup as well. Okay, anything else you need to know, or to anyone else? Anything else anyone else needs to know about the event tomorrow night? Steve, let us know what's going on. This is online, isn't it? And I'm going to be part of the panel, I think, as well.
Yes, you are. We're also going to have my legal team on there as well, too, for anyone that needs any legal questions answered. So they'll have full access to that. What I'm trying to do is just provide a platform where people can ask questions and have them answered within a reasonable time period, right then and there.
That sounds very a reasonable time frame. And the legal team aren't on there because I'm going to be on the show. So that's coincidence.
Well, not exactly, but we'll talk about that later.
All right. Yeah, is it this 300 Days of Sunshine thing? It's just a general guide. It was never meant to be something you could sue anybody for, honestly. Right, okay, we've got, especially for you, Steve, we've got pictures of maple syrup. If you can't get it from Lidl or Aldi, I think Shelley's here this morning. Good morning to you, Shelley. I love it when you lean into the show with some emergency information such as that. But this is Costco. Is that a brand you would approve of, Steve?
Listen, maple syrup's maple syrup, and like I said, if Portugal has that, then there's nothing really tying me back to Canada.
Okay, all right.
You never have to go back again for anything.
Exactly.
You say that there is something. This is something that you and I, James, might talk about in the future. There is a curve, isn't there, of the expat? You know, like all the 7 stages of migration. And one of the early stages is like, I don't miss anything from the old place. It stinks, and that's why I've moved. And there can be that stage. And then a little bit later on, there can be, I think you had it, James, a little bit, didn't you, with the missing of the wide open spaces and the particular experience of nature of North America.
Well, yeah, and for that, I was not realizing I was missing it until I experienced it here in Portugal, and I went, oh, like suddenly it's like, oh, yeah, I missed that. So it's not even so much about the United States specifically as making sure that I get myself into those places wherever I am. Yes. And those places exist here in Portugal. They're just not as Steve said, similar redwood forest to ocean in 20 minutes is, it's pretty phenomenal. So that's not available generally here, but wilderness is available. I just need to remember to get out to it.
And I think we don't miss the things we took for granted, do we? I mean, that sounds like an idyllic childhood, Steve, when you were able to bunk off school to go snowboarding. I mean, nobody from Birmingham or London can say that. So they don't miss that themselves. But, there are things that you miss, I think. Well, there are things you don't know you're missing until sometime after some sort of trigger event where it's like it comes up. And to be fair, even 7 years in Portugal, there aren't I don't get triggered that often, but tiny little things like I guess like we could call it the maple syrup moment, for example. And so much talk about that this morning. Shelley is here. Good morning to you, Shelley. Lovely
on a Monday, no less.
Look at this. Lidl has maple syrup, the maple syrup moment on a Monday morning. Yeah, Lidl has maple syrup all the time. We've got T-Duck who spotted it in Pingo as well. Pingo has real maple syrup. And Michael's...
A lot of these places that will say they'll have maple syrup, but if you look at the ingredients on the back, it's not.
Oh, okay. Point of
Yeah,
order.
we're talking 100%, straight out of the tree with some sugar added. Maybe I don't know how it's made, but none of
I
this.
want it out of the tree, sucking on it like a nipple. It's right out of the tree. It's
pure
right
maple syrup. Yeah,
pure maple syrup.
No wonder you miss it. Having described it like that, it's no wonder you miss it. There's lots of fake maple syrup around. The one in Lidl isn't pure. If you look at the ingredients and the health food shops, stock some that has nothing to do with a maple tree. Okay, so it's a bit like those ocean sticks, isn't it? That have never seen a crab or any other fish for that matter. They are just formed to look like a piece of a fish, or not even that. Sometimes just a stick that's been painted the same color as a crab. Right, decent fish and chips. Talking of these things, decent fish and chips is my main miss. And again, Ocean has 100% Canadian organic maple syrup. All right, I think we've established now that you can find it.
It's available.
Yeah, okay. We're going to attend the next one, Steve. We're still in UK too. Need to get the ball rolling. And that is your next webinar. So there's a mixture, face-to-face, you're going to have every couple of months, and you're going to be doing the online ones. What is the schedule of these, Steve, before we do our God Squad tip of the day?
So on the odd months, we have the online events, and then on the even months, we have the in-person events. So for August, we're probably going to do an event in the Coimbra region. And then October, I believe October, we're aiming to do it in the UK. We're going to host a online event, but also a live event where people can come and visit, but in the UK, because we get a lot of requests for having in-person events over here.
That makes sense. Okay, and I want you to do one on the Silver Coast at some point as well, which I'd be delighted to be involved with as well over here. Fantastic. Okay, you're going to stick with us for a little more chat up to about 10 o'clock this morning, Steve?
Yes, sir.
Okay, brilliant. We've got the God Squad tip of the day then. Bom dia, James. Feliz Segunda. I'm Billy No Mates this week as Mrs. T is in Norfolk with her mum, though we will be at a race meeting in Zandvoort at the weekend. I don't know where that is. Enjoy every moment of the week. Good advice there for the mind and well-being. For the body now, maintaining muscle strength is vital as we age. And we looked at leg strength last week. So I wanted to explain a little about the thinking behind strength training. Essentially, you're stressing the muscles so they break down a little and then will rebuild stronger, a process called adaptation. I was listening to Eckhart Tolle talking about this when it comes to the mind and spirituality, actually, that we stress ourselves out in order to be stronger. I think it's the same sort of theory. This is achieved by doing an exercise until you almost can't do it anymore. 8 to 12 repetitions is ideal, so adjust the difficulty to suit. In a gym, that means altering the weight, but for most of us, we can just change the exercise a bit to make it more difficult. Then do 3 sets of reps with a minute or 2 between, and try and do these sessions 3 times per week. Otherwise, you're unlikely to build up muscle. However, don't beat yourself up, although that probably could be quite good. If you literally beat yourself up, you could develop some strength as well if you miss a session. Now, we've heard about James's legendary burpees. What about you, Steve? Do you work out, if that's not a personal and like a chat question?
I actually used to work out on a regular basis, not so much now. Ever since I had my appendix removed in 2019, like just as COVID started. Wow. And ever since then, I've kind of come out of shape. I've lost the 6-pack, but I find I get a lot more interest in women with the dad bod. So it's kind of
very encouraging.
It's a love-hate relationship.
And you can always get a 6-pack at the grocery store.
Exactly. Boy, that's really good. Well, great to hear. Well done, Steve.
I definitely recommend that people do try and eat healthier. I find people these days snack a lot more, but it's okay to snack and it's okay to have sweets and all this stuff. You can really eat what you want, but with moderation, and also keeping your body in shape. Is maybe not in shape to the point where you're built like Arnold Schwarzenegger or something like that,
Yes.
but just keep the body moving, or else it ends up becoming tight and you end up walking with a cane, looking like an old man before you're an old man.
And breaking things when you fall over, that kind of stuff. Yep.
Good advice, team. Good advice. Excellent. Over to you, James, for some of this.
Oh, to the mindful moment. And one of my favorite things, gratitude is the most powerful tool. No matter what's going on around you, every day, take a moment to reflect on everything you have to be grateful for.
Yes, very good. From Healing Energy Tools. Not sure who they are, but we'll take it anyway, won't we? Thanks for that, James. Bit of gratitude always helps. And what about this?
I bought a hairpiece from a discount warehouse. It was a small price to pay.
Don't laugh. It just encourages him. Okay.
Well, you're grown was all the satisfaction. I mean, that's another dad joke compliment right there when someone goes,
It is.
in addition to this.
I just wish I'd said it. And I will, of course. I'll be mentioning that.
You'll use it
for the benefit of the family yesterday. There was a little bit more talk about maple syrup, believe it or not. And Sarah Hedrick is here from Aleria. Good to see you here this morning. And Darren, who says different sausages. Who doesn't like a different sausage first thing in the morning?
I think that's a reference. Oh, that Brazilian barbecue.
It needs, like so many things in life, it needs context. Brazilian barbecue going to have different meats than UK, different sausages. Talking of different sausages, thank you, Mrs. M. That was a random, and I'll explain later. Afifa,
walk down the street and shout different sausages and see what happens.
That's right. It's the British guy again at number. Yeah, Ocean Dweller. The bon dia to you as well, Ocean Dweller. And this is something I wanted to ask you, Steve, as well. Oh, HP Source is being mentioned in the chat as well. Two things. First of all, the new NHR. Well, it's not the NHR, is it? But a new tax relief has been announced for professionals in Portugal. Was that news filtered through to you? And I'm guessing that might be good for your business.
Yes, it was.
How do you feel about it?
If you want to find out more about it, come to the event.
Look what he did there. See what he did there tomorrow night. I'll be there. And I didn't even know about this. Are you all excited with the launch of the new gov.pt portal?
100%.
Well, then you better tell us about it, because I know nothing about this.
I lost sleep over it, but that's because I didn't know anything about it.
What portal?
One, find out about it at the event. But two, it's always good to digitalize a situation that has been done on paper, because paperwork gets lost, and online paperwork doesn't.
Okay,
unless the internet goes down.
Yes, that's never going to happen, is it? Okay, here it is. Here is the new. Well, I'm guessing here's the new portal that's being spoken about here. ePortugal gov.pt. Is that what we're talking about, Steve and Darren? I think it might be. I've never seen that before, so I think it might be. And they're trying to get everything bureaucratic into one place, presumably, with this, Steve.
How I look at it is that Portugal. How do I put this in a way without getting fired at?
Hey, anyway,
Portugal is starting to make changes so that things are a lot easier for the world to understand, and not just the Portuguese way.
Yes. Oh, okay, very good.
That's the best way I could put it.
I don't think you're going to get any criticism for that, but you never know. Let's try saying it on Facebook. Bob and I were just talking about this with Vitor, says João Nestor. We miss the wildlife of Colorado: moose, elk, antelope, mountain lions, all good with maple syrup on, I understand. Lynx, deer, even rabbits and squirrels. So plentiful, and not so much here. So there you go. Look at this. T-Duck has even sent ingredients through so you can assess the situation for yourself. I'll forward that on to you. This is a Jarop de Acer Biológico Canadiano here. So thank you very much. 189 delicious milliliters of said maple syrup. Cheers for that, T-Duck. last few comments in. It is 10 o'clock now. Steve needs to go and get ready for tomorrow night, as I do. So I'll see you there, Steve. Lidl does not do a decent fish and chips. No, it's very hard to get decent fish and chips from the freezer section. You want to be going to a restaurant for that. And I believe with the e-portal, it's going to be similar to Gov UK, a simple way to access many government processes on one site. Well, that's nicely put. Thank you very much. It still doesn't make up, says, talking of or comparing the lifestyles, it still doesn't make up for the crimes against cod that happens throughout. Oh, no, okay. I thought you were talking about the low crime rate, but actually quite a lot of crime against cod.
I was still on the portal, so I said, what?
Yes. And what a scurrilous rumor you're starting. Peter's not caring what he's saying. You'll be hearing from Steve's legal team when I speak to them tomorrow night with such scurrilous rumor. Peter, maple syrup is boiled and processed. Oh dear. So we've got Maplegate as kicking off this morning as well. Last words to both of you, gentlemen, if you don't mind, before we get too deep into the maple syrup, which is quite a messy metaphor and image. Steve, you first.
I think I want to touch on what James said is take the time and travel Portugal. I will definitely say that. Go outside of the usual areas of Lisbon, Porto, Algarve. Go check out Central Region. Go check out Évora. Go check out the Alentejo.
Oh, yes.
Alcobaça. There's tons of places where you can visit, and you should not just limit yourself to just where you are at because you think that they speak more English there.
Oh, nicely done there. And given that you're not mentioning your event tomorrow night, I will. Join us tomorrow evening. What time does that kick off, and how can people get involved, Steve?
It's happening tomorrow night at 8 o'clock Lisbon time.
Yep.
You can get involved. You can check out my Facebook, or Carl, I'll send you the link as well too to post on your Facebook.
Will do.
For people that want it. The tickets can be found on Eventbrite, so they're 100% free. But what it is that it gives you the link to the event on Google Meet.
Okay.
So this is an exclusive event. We don't just allow anyone inside of this event.
Clearly.
No propaganda.
No. Okay, all right, very good. No propaganda. Cheers, Steve. I'll see you there tomorrow evening. James,
I've been called that.
See you, James. See you, everyone.
Cheers.
Bye,
See you, mate. Ciao, ciao. Bye. Over to you, Steve. Over to you, James. What are you talking about? I thought you had to go suddenly. It is past 10 o'clock. I don't like to keep people past.
I hear propaganda, and of course, my wordplay, just like an old British guy.
Have a propaganda.
Yeah. At any rate, on that note, I have a Portuguese phrase and an English phrase to leave with. The Portuguese phrase I've recently learned, and I'll just do it with formal second person because there's variations, but diverte-te, which means have fun,
Yes.
and a new one I've learned in English, and be gruntled.
Be gruntled and diverte. Have fun and be gruntled. Excellent advice for the week for this Boa Semana and Boa Segunda. Thank you,
And
James.
you can find an old guy in Europe at that exact name on YouTube. I've got 4 episodes out, another one coming up on Friday if you're interested.
Yes, it only took him 16 hours. And check out north of Porto. So many think Porto is the north. It isn't. The Minho is the north. Porto is just the top of the central region. Nicely put. And here's a little taster for you of the north.
Where's the Silver Coast?
Let's not get into that.
Let's get it figured out.
Mate, we're already in enough trouble with flipping maple syrup this morning. Let's play some video footage. Which don't worry, don't break into a sweat, James. You haven't got to edit this into your next video. Just enjoy this. And everybody enjoy this from João and Lester. See you next week, James. Take care. Have a great week, everybody. We're going to go out on horseback today.
Gira, Paula. Gira, Paula. Gira, gira.
Portugal, there's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know. Carl rings the bell and the members show to the GMP morning show. Featured guests will come and they will blow your mind. The audience will do so in kind. The little vanity mixed with some insanity on the morning show with GMP.
Good morning, Portugal, and I'd like to welcome you to another fantastic day.
Hey, Gumpers.